Okay, welcome, dummies. I suggest we get started. The keynote went a little bit over time, but we'll see if anyone wants to join. They're welcome. Um, this session is Drush for Dummies. So I see, for example, my technical manager sitting here. So he considers himself a dummy, apparently, but welcome. My name is Ivo van Geertruijen. I work as a Drupal developer at Dropsolid in Ghent. I have over 20 years experience developing websites. 15 of those years have been with Drupal. My first version was version 4.7. What is Drush? You can see it on the slide. Drush is basically a shell for Drupal. You take Drupal, you take shell, and you get Drush. Can you hear me? Sorry? Microfoon werkt terug niet. Oei. Ik ga anders gewoon een beetje luider spreken. Better? No? Okay. Okay, so you take Drupal, you take shell, you get Drush. Not like some people say Drush, because it's Drupal. No, it's Drush. It rhymes with flush. It's a command line interface for your Drupal site, so it can help you do stuff with your site without having to log in, without having to click around in the interface. It can help you during development. For example, you can let it generate boilerplate code for you. Clear the cache. Anyone here knows the Drush CR command? I guess most of you do. It can help you during deployment, DevOps, for example, putting your site in maintenance mode, doing the database updates, importing configuration, running cron. It can help with testing. If, for example, you need 10,000 nodes on your site to test the pager, you can use Drush to generate 10,000 nodes. And it's customizable. You can just extend Drush and write your own comments. So it's not just a development tool. Drush has its place on a production server too. Drush is actually just a PHP application. We're going to talk about Drush 12, which is PHP 8.1. And you might have heard the term getting off the island. If you've been doing Drupal for a while, you know that we used to think that we were the best and what we were doing was better than all the rest. And we wrote all our code ourselves. Since Drupal 8, we started using Symfony, we started using libraries. Basically, we got off our island. Drush did the same. So Drush is also based on, for example, Symfony console. It uses Symfony components for YAML parsing. Compatibility. This is just a part of the compatibility matrix for Drush. But basically, the Drush version is relatively tied to your Drupal version. So if you want to be adventurous and start working with Drupal 11, then you're going to need Drush 13. If you, like us, are on Drupal 10, you will be working with Drush 12. Is there anyone here who still has a Drupal 7 site running? Just one person? Two people? Three? Okay. So if you still have a Drupal 7 site, you have to use Drush 8. Installing Drush. It's fairly easy. The recommendation right now is that you install it locally. There used to be a time where you would just put it on your server or your machine, and you would use the same Drush instance to manage all your sites. But as you saw from the previous slides, the Drush version is heavily tied to your Drupal version. So it makes more sense to just package it with your project. You can just install it with Composer, and it will be a dependency of your project. Like this, Composer require Drush, and you're all set. Of course, if you do Composer require Drush, then it will be installed in the vendor bin folder. which means if you want to execute it, you either have to prefix your comment with vendor bin, or you have to, for example, put vendor bin in your pod directive. If you use tools like, for example, ddev to manage your sites, then this is not an issue. They will take care of it for you. Another optional thing to do when installing Drush is Drush has autocomplete. I don't know if you know autocomplete. Basically, if you type Drush and then you start the comment and you press tab, then it will expand the comment for you. You can install it. It takes a little bit of work. You have to type Drush completion bash, and this will give you a script. You just run that script, or you put it in your bash RC file, and then you have autocompletion. I'm not really a big fan of it because it basically only works for comments. And I mean, if you type Drush CR, autocomplete is not that big of a benefit. So what does a Drush comment look like? Basically, you have Drush, you have a comment. What are you going to do? You have one or more arguments, and you have options. The arguments, that's the target of your comment. The options basically modify how your comment is going to run. This is probably going to be clearer with some examples. For example, Drush status. Drush status will give you just diagnostical information about your website. It will tell you about the Drupal version you're using, the configuration files that are loaded, the database credentials. Drush cache rebuild, we know that one. It will clear and rebuild your caches. Drush browse, that's an interesting one. This will basically, if you have a browser set up on your machine, will basically open the front page in your browser. If you do Drush browse node 55, for example, it will go straight to that page. Drush lists, interesting one. Drush list will give you all of the comments available for Drush. And SQL drop, that's a nice one. If you do Drush SQL drop yes, then you will no longer have a site and you will have to reinstall it. And there's a query. Let me just show you some of these. Oh no, one more thing to mention. There's also something called comment aliases. Basically, these are just different names for the same comment. For example, Drush cache rebuild. You can also just do Drush CR or Drush rebuild. Same with site install. You can use Drush to install your site from scratch, but you can also just do Drush SYN or Drush SI. Global options. Some options are specific to the command you're running, but some options work for almost any command. For example, if you do -- help, then you will get help about the command you're about to run. Verbose, this one is an interesting one. Basically, if you want more information about your command, how it's running, then you can do verbose. You got three levels, 1V, 2V, 3V, basically normal, more verbose, or even debugging information. The last one, for example, is interesting if you're connecting to a remote server and that happens through SSH and your connection fails. You just do -VVV and then you get information about how it is connecting to your server. There's quiet if you don't want any output when you run your command. There's format, which allows you to specify how you want the output formatted. Okay, that's a lot of theory. Let's just dive in and show you some live examples. That's a lot more interesting than just slides and texts. For example, we can do, oh, there I am. Drush version, there you go. It just spits out the version. Drush lists will give you a list of all the comments that are available to be run on your website. Drush status, I briefly talked about it earlier, gives you information about your website. For example, database information. It does hide by default the password, but I think if I use an option, Drush status fields, I think like this maybe, there you go, you get a little bit more information, including the database passwords. You want to see what's happening on your website, you can just do, for example, Drush watchdog show. Oh. We only want the severity minimum 3 ones. Voila, then you get the most recent items in your event log. You want to know something about the routes on your website, you can do, for example, Drush core route and say, okay, the user logout page, what route is it using? And there you get all the information, for example, core route, admin content. Voila, very handy if you don't know which controller is taking care of your specific path. Okay. Those were fairly simple comments. You also have interactive comments, basically 3 different types. You just got the simple selection. For example, if you do a cache clear, then it will ask you which cache bin you want to clear. You can just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's question answer. We will do a Drush generate later to showcase this. And there's even an editor for the more advanced interaction. Let me just show you some examples. For example, cache clear. There you go. You can just say, okay, I want to clear my views cache. Done. You can do just Drush generate module. This is actually going to generate the boilerplate for a module for us. So we say, okay, our module is Drupal camp Kent. The machine name is Drupal camp. Description, this is an example. Package, you see the thing between square brackets is the default value. So I'm just going to enter and take the default value. No dependencies. I do not need a module file, no install file, no README file. And Drush has generated the module for me. There are more complex interactive examples. For example, Drush config edit, system performance. This will edit a configuration object for you. And then you get an editor and you just can edit it. For example, I want my max age for the page cache to be 3600. Save. Voila, it updated the configuration for you. If you want to create an entity, for example, you can do Drush entity create node page, and then you can just create an entity. This is the body, English, and then we say this is the title, and the user ID is the administrator. Voila, and you've got a node on your site. You can change the editor. For example, entity create node page editor. I would like to use Nano, I think. Oh, I made a typo. There you go. And then you can just use Nano English title 1. Okay, exit, save. And that's our second node. Okay. There's even more interaction possible. For example, you do Drush PHP CLI. This will get you an interactive PHP shell with Drupal already bootstrapped. For example, I can now do node equals Drupal node module entity. And then we've got node load. Voila. And there I've loaded my node that I just created. If I want to resave the node, I can just do node save. And if I want to delete it, the node is gone. can load the second node. There you go. Same works for SQL. You can do Drush SQL CLI. There you go. Show tables like, let's see, what are my cache tables? There you go. Okay, let's clear truncate cache page. There you go. All the cached pages are now gone. These also have non-interactive versions where you can just pass the statement on the command line if you use SQL query or PHP eval or PHP scripts. Okay. I've got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try in 5 minutes to create our own custom Drush command to show you how easy it is. I practiced this 50 times, so it's bound to fail, but let's try. What you need a module, you need a comments file, you need a comment method. Let's try this out. For example, okay, this is probably going to be a little bit small. Just going to generate the file first, and then I'm going to increase the font size. So we have a file Drush comments, I think, and then Drupal camp comments.php. This is our file. Let's make it a bit bigger. Presentation mode. There we go. Okay, we have a PHP file. The namespace is Drupal. Our module name is Drupal camp. We've got comments. There you go. Oh, this is actually wrong. It's namespace Drush comments. We need attributes. I'll talk about this one in a bit. Attributes. I'm going to alias them. And then we need the comments class from Drush. And that's actually this one. Yes, we need a class which extends from Drush comments. We need a function. This will be our Drush command. So say hi, for example. And then we can just output some texts. Success, hello, Drupal camp. Okay. For Drush to actually discover this, you need to provide some information. The way Drush does this is by using PHP 8 attributes. So that works like this. You do hash, square brackets, and then CLI comment. Okay, the name of our comment is Drupal camp hi. We want to provide an alias just to be friendly. Let's make it DHI. Okay, just going over this. This should be everything we need to get this up and running. Let's see if this works. Oh, no. Let's enable the module first. Okay, Drush Drupal camp hi. So this is probably going to fail. Oh, no, it actually works. There you go. So you see how easy it is to just create a Drush command in 5 minutes or less. And it even works. I'm proud of myself. Okay, I have a couple of minutes left and still a bunch of slides. Let's go over them a bit more quickly. Yeah, this is just if it failed, I had a slide and then you could just read it. Drush generate, very handy. I just use it to create a module, but for example, just Drush generate and you want a form and you want a form for settings. I think it's like this. No, config. Then Drush will just help you create a settings form. There you go. Yeah, class is fine. Do you want a route? Yes, please. Okay, that's the route name. That's all defaults, all fine for me. There you go. Menu link. basically the defaults are fine here. There you go. Drush created 4 different files. And the link to my form is this one. I think I'm not logged in, probably. Let's see. No, so I will have to log in. Drush user login. There you go. Oh, I was logged in. Sorry. And then I'm just going to my settings form. Oh, I made a mistake. Sorry. Drush cache clear, cache rebuild. That probably will do the trick. Yeah, there you go, your form. And if you look at this one, let's see, exit presentation mode. This is probably going to be a little bit small. It actually takes a little bit of time here too, but here you see the forms, the settings form generated by Drush. So it's really easy to just get started with the boilerplate and just do what you're good at and not just copy, paste, and type. Okay, I've got a time's up slide, so I have to pass the mic to Nick. I hope this was interesting. It was like a really quick overview in 25 minutes.